Hey everybody, I'm Tammy at All About Living, and you remember that little cookbook I got the other day? Well, I'm going to read you some from it and we're going to make a recipe. Because remember I told you that some of the recipes that I've made all my life aren't quite right. They've been added to and taken away from, and so we're going to look at that. Okay?
Well, have you ever been to a kitchen in the deep woods of North Florida? Welcome to Tammy's Outdoor Kitchen.
It's called The Savannah Cookbook by Harriet Ross Colquitt, and it was printed in 1933. And I said you probably couldn't find this anywhere, but you actually can. Randy says we can leave a link below. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they're all used. The last printing was, I think it said 1994 or 1997. So that's still been a while ago. So you're only going to find a used book no matter where you go. Now I got to put my glasses on because I can't see. And the very first thing, it says, long after these manuscripts were collected, I hesitated to have them printed on account of the indulgent smiles of our northern friends at our quaint use of the word receipt, instead of their more favored recipe. But I found the habit of a lifetime hard to break, and my pen and typewriter were also unreconstructed and clung to the old word despite all my resolutions. So I finally sought the advice of no less an authority than the Oxford Dictionary of Good Usage, and this is what I found. Recipe / see receipt, and under receipt / recipe / in the sense of a formula for the making of a food or a medicine, either word as good as the other. So there, a receipt book it is, and she calls everything in here a receipt. Okay, the recipe that I'm going to do today is a pilau, or how do they say it? Pilau. It's spelled P-I-L or A-U and then S plural, you know. Okay. Many of the old cooks call pilau perloo, and we are apt to smile indulgently and explain with raised eyebrows that they mean pilau or pilau. I don't know how to pronounce that. But we would not feel quite so patronizing about it if we realized their authority. In looking over an old South Carolina cookbook which specialized on rice dishes, I found this spelled perloo, P-U-R-L-O-W. So perhaps their admiring imitators are not so far afield after all. So I've called it perloo all my life. It's been perloo, you know, P-E-R-W-L-E-W or something, you know, it's just perloo. Okay, now when I make a perloo, we have always put celery, onions, eggs, always. If you use 2 cups of rice, you use a half a dozen boiled eggs and you slice them up and you put them in it. Well, according to this, all you do is cut up a fowl and fry it in 1 tablespoon of lard and 1 sliced onion. Season 1 pint can of tomatoes, which I'm going to have to use a can of tomatoes, not, she's talking about a pint of fresh canned tomatoes, but we're going to have to improvise. Put salt and pepper and 1 teaspoon of sugar. And when the chicken and onion are light brown, add the tomatoes and pour boiling water to cover. Have 1 pint of rice, well washed. And that's another thing. I have never washed my rice. My granny has never washed her rice. I never even knew that was a thing until I started watching the internet, and some of the countries overseas wash their rice. But I had never done that. Anyway, in here, she tells you to thoroughly wash your rice. And once you think it's clean, do it again for good luck. So that's what I did. I took my pint of rice, and I've washed it real good. Or I think I washed it real good. You know, I think I did. Okay, so we have our well-washed rice. And stir this into the chicken mixture and simmer until tender. Add 1 large spoon of butter before serving and 1 cup of grated and 1 cup of grated corn can be added. Well, I don't really have any grated corn, but I got some cream style corn in the can, so we're going to try just putting that on top. See how that works. But that's it. That's the recipe, so we're going to get started. And she says that the best thing to cook rice in is an iron kettle, which is, you know, basically, what do you call these? And basically a cast iron Dutch oven. So that's what we're going to use. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get our stove on with a medium flame so we can brown up our chicken parts. About like that. We're going to let that get nice and hot before we put that lard in there. Okay, we're going to put 1 good spoon of lard in there. Kind of wrap it around. Okay, I kind of like to go up the sides with the lard a little bit, just to avoid any sticking later. Bang, bang, bang. Sizzle, sizzle. There we go. We're going to brown. Oh, skin side down. Always put your chicken in the first time, skin side down. I'm leaving fat and all on there. If y'all don't like fat, take it off. Okay. Now we're going to let that get a nice brown coat on it. Oh, can't forget the onion drop, Randy. I forgot the onions. It said brown your chicken with your onions, with your sliced onions. So there are my sliced onions going in. Y'all notice I sliced those onions before Randy got in here, so y'all didn't have to go through that. They're just sliced onions, nothing fancy. Okay, I'm pretty sure they're getting brown enough now, so we're gonna flip. Oh yeah, they're nice and brown. There we go. That's what cooking in cast iron will do for you. Now we're going to give the other side a nice good brown. We're nice and brown on the bottom, so now it's time to add our tomatoes. So I've got a nifty pop top. All right, now I'm using, a can of tomatoes, but I'm sure that her recipe in 1933 was for home canned tomatoes. So I'm using the sliced stewed tomatoes because that would be as close as I can get to what she was using. Now she says to add your salt and pepper, so we're going to do that. I'll make sure I find the right one. Okay. And we're going to salt pretty liberally because we're going to add all that rice, and that chicken didn't get any seasoning when I put it in, so we're going to salt that pretty good. And we're going to pepper pretty good too, which is going to take a minute because my new grinder still takes a minute. But it is fresh pepper, so it'll be much, much better than just dumping the ground stuff. Okay, we're going to call that good. And I'll taste it later and be sure that I got enough in there. Because that's all a matter of taste anyway. Now, we're going to add enough water to cover the chicken, and we're going to add the rice so we see how much room we need to cover all this. So here's my nice clean rice. Oh. And my teaspoon of sugar. I know that was a little heavy-handed, but it's mine. And enough water to cover. That looks good and covered to me. How about y'all? I like these old recipes. They don't take much work at all. Okay, now it doesn't say whether to put a lid on it or not, and it doesn't say to turn it down. So I'm assuming that we leave it on that medium heat with a lid. I'll check on it, and if that's not the case, then when I come back, I'll let you know what I did. Okay, I'm about 15 minutes in, and I've left it on that medium heat, and I put the lid on it. Now I've taken the lid off. It's absorbed quite a bit of that water, but it's getting pretty done, and I don't like mushy rice, so we're going to turn that down to low, as low as it'll go, and then finish cooking that chicken, because that rice is just about done. Okay, it's been about 10 more minutes since I took the lid off and put it down on that low. Almost all of the water has absorbed. And then I'm going to take my chicken and pull it apart and make sure that it's good and done too. And it is. I don't have anything running. It's all nice and juicy. We are ready for dinner. Okay, the first thing I did before I took the chicken out was taste the rice to make sure the rice was done. So my rice was good and done. And then I wanted to make sure that my chicken was done. So I pulled the chicken out. Now we're going to add that butter they told us to add. And she said a big spoon of butter. So I have this nice serving spoon, and I'm going to put the butter to it. You know I'm not afraid of fat. We're just going to stir that down in there. Okay, now I'm just going to put that corn right in there, because the corn's already cooked. So I guess putting it in there now, all you're doing is just warming it up. So we'll get that mixed up in there. And it said that was optional, so you don't have to put the corn in there if you don't want to. But Randy loves corn, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in there. Then I'm going to let it sit here for just 2, 3, 4 minutes and let that corn get warm. And here is your chicken perloo from 1933. Y'all, this is good. I mean, I like my chicken perloo. But this is really inexpensive. I mean, really inexpensive. I used leg quarters. I probably, $3, $4 for the leg quarters. A can of corn, a can of tomatoes, 2 cups of rice, a little bit of butter, some salt and pepper. What else? Was that it? Yeah, that was it. This is awesome. And it worked perfect in this kettle. I mean perfect. There wasn't anything stuck to the bottom. It worked out absolutely perfect. I really hope y'all enjoyed my little tutorial from my little cookbook, and I really hope y'all try this. It is good. I'm not kidding you. So it fits all my criteria. It's inexpensive, it tastes good, and it has very minimal ingredients. Like, subscribe, share, come back and see me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.